Check, check, quick sound check. Can everybody hear us loud and clear? What's going on, Coach Paul?
Hey, Coach Jay, hear you loud and clear. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, everyone. Happy Friday. It is the end of the week. Love this group, but not a fan of that intro. What's wrong with the intro? Uh, Let us know what's wrong with the intro, and maybe we can ask the production team to doctor us up a new one. I like it though. But welcome everyone. It's glitchy. Okay, I think that's on my side. I got to download another file. But welcome everyone to At the Buzzer, our market recap. If this is your first time here, the goal of this segment is to review what happened in the markets for the day. And it's Friday, so we'll talk about the week. But the goal of this segment is to review what happened in the markets, talk about. Wow, I just flopped that intro terribly. Can you tell it's Friday? Uh,
Well,
we want to
it's
see how
been
we
a
could.
long week.
It has been a long week. We want to see how we could take advantage of our opportunities while managing our risk in these markets. I'm Coach Jay. I've been a top step performance coach since June of 2023. That is Coach Paul. Coach Paul, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Coach Paul. I've been with Topstep for 2 years. I have been involved in the futures trading industry for 4 decades. I'm here to share some experience, some knowledge, and hopefully help you become a better trader.
You, Coach Paul, and I should be able to see the charts now. Let me know if you got those.
Not yet.
All right, I'll
Now I
take.
can.
All right,
There
there
it
we
is.
go. All right. All right, let's talk about the markets.
All
So
right.
we did have non-farm payroll come out today. That was the big news for the day. We do know that we had, the Twitter beef going on last night, kind of brought the markets down. We'll talk about the response to that. Really, no escalations on that front, but we did have non-farm payrolls planned number coming out at 139,000. Forecast was 126. So better than expected, and the markets responded somewhat favorably. We did see a response, positive response in the markets from there, in the equity markets at least. Uh, Anything else you got on the news, Coach Paul?
Um, just that was a pretty good number, and it was interesting that the equities reacted positively to positive economic news. But we'll go into that later. But nothing outside of that until we get the next tweet.
I'm kind of
So
sitting in front of the. Actually, I'll just move it up here. The one, actually, I can't move it up because it's at the bottom. Wait. Trump and China is supposed to be meeting in London on June 9th, right? Possibly to talk about a tariff deal. June 9th is Monday, right? So maybe we hear some updates on the news that has been moving the markets and that the market has been waiting for. Any updates on the tariff? Uh,
there we
yep,
go.
and
Another interesting development right after the close.
yep. Yes, will be. And that meeting was with supposed to be with Treasury Secretary Besant, Lutnick, and the U.S. Trade Representative Greer, who will be meeting with China. Right. Let's take a look at the quote board to the downside today. 35 different markets we can trade with Topstep. And today to the downside, we had gold down 1.28%, the ultra bonds down 1.34%, and copper down 2.18% for our biggest percentage mover to the downside. To the upside, we had natural gas up 2.5%, micro Bitcoin futures up 2.63%, and platinum, our biggest percentage mover to the upside at 3.34%. Platinum has been rallying, kind of broke out in a pretty strong move there. Let's take a look at this on the daily really quick. Uh, we're talking
Big
about,
move
you know, highs we haven't seen since,
in years.
yeah, a year ago. And we're breaking out a pretty big move here in platinum. Uh,
That's a definition of a breakout.
yep. Yes, it is.
Interesting, and we could
Go
that
ahead.
the unwinding of this gold platinum spread.
Okay. What is that? Go
Um,
ahead. Explain it a little
it
more,
just
Coach
seems
Wall.
to me that kind of the way the gold acted today and platinum had a nice rally. There's a relationship between gold and platinum that's been since I started in the business. When I started, a gold platinum was a premium to gold by a couple $100. Gold was at its high 800, basically was $500 on average, and platinum was like 800 to 1,000. I find it very interesting. We have this kind of rally in platinum when gold looks kind of toppish, and we'll go through gold in a minute, but very interesting, something to keep an eye on in platinum.
Absolutely. To talk about our big four, we had crude oil up 2.02%, the S&P up 1.07%, gold, like we talked about, down 1.29%, and the Nasdaq up 1.04%. I'm gonna pull up a Nasdaq chart, take a look at the weekly. It was pretty interesting week. Really feels like we really didn't go anywhere. High to low, the range for the weekly was about 760 points. The weekly ATR is about 1100 and 1120 points. So very consolidated week if we're looking at range that way, um, compared to what we have been seeing. Of course, if we look at last year, it's still a pretty big range for the week, but compared to what we've been seeing, it was a fairly quiet week. What are you seeing here on the weekly chart, Coach Paul?
Continuation, onward and upward. We did it the hard way. Um, but still, new highs on the move. We're just a couple, uh, you know, what a percentage from all-time highs, maybe 2%. That could happen in a day. But as we've been saying, what if you
About
look
three and a
on the
quarter percent.
weekly, 3.25%. Heck, that
Yep,
could happen next week.
could happen with a
Um,
trade deal.
yeah, and look at the one of the things that we have higher highs, higher highs, higher high. We had another, believe it or not, we had a higher high for the week this week. Um,
Higher
so
lows.
yeah, yeah, well, no, a definition of a run.
Yep.
So there's nothing there. Yeah, that could be a double top if it hits the all-time high and fails, but we don't know that. But right now, this is a pretty good run. Nothing by the dips.
By the dips. We do see that 20 moving average continuing to be a support on the daily. We're above that 20 moving average is above the 200 in the Nasdaq here, uh, and continuing to push higher. Coach, give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
Okay,
But I'll leave you with the. You want to stay on a daily or a 30-minute chart here?
let's go to the daily.
All right. Here you go on a daily. I'll be back in 2 seconds.
On the daily, we're holding that 20 moving average. Acted again as support from last night. If you notice, the low was made on the opening on the evening session, and really there was nothing but buying after the first few minutes. Um, so that 20-day on this run up has acted like support. This is the third time we've touched it and ran. Um, Now that's very positive action. Um, like I said, it's not too far from all-time highs. Let's watch the 20-day moving average for the next few days here. Um, we if we close above yesterday's high, which wouldn't shock me if there's some trade deal announced on Sunday. Um, yeah, it's going to be a good run. This is a very bullish chart.
Very bullish chart. GDL ask a question. What do you think? Any thoughts on momentum up here? We've tried pushing a few days, but rallies run out of steam. The markets need a catalyst right now to move significantly. I think that's just my opinion. I don't think I'm on the only one that has that opinion, but we're kind of slow grinding up. Remember that markets do tend to move a little slower to the upside than they do to the downside. So this kind of feels like just natural. a natural bid to the market where it's, it's making higher highs like we saw on the weekly. It's just doing it slowly. I think if we get a catalyst, if we do get that trade deal, then we might see it accelerate a little bit. Uh, but there's still no deal on the table. We are pretty close to all-time highs, right? Which sounds crazy because we talked about it. What felt like a consolidated, maybe a slow, kind of long week. Uh, but we are making progress. It's just pretty slow. Uh,
Yeah. Well, and that's the way in its natural state. We've
right.
said this before, and that's just the slow grind higher. It's designed to go up. It's doing its job. That's why people buy the dip. Yeah, that's why they over a long term it works. Now coming from February and April's drama on the downside, this feels really slow. But we're back to normal.
What's funny is, Coach Ball, we could say we're back to normal, but we're still not even back to normal yet, right? The weekly ATR, the weekly range was still 760 points. If we talk about last year, we could probably cut
Hmm.
that in half, right? And
Yeah,
feel much slower than what we do right now.
yeah. So this is it's in its natural state, and here's the thing with the ATR, it, it's coming down. It's
Mhm.
trending down.
Right.
And that what would be as the more we rally, the less volatility. That's the way it works in the equities. Now, if we put that monthly, we said the mother of all wicks.
Yep.
I mean, this is a pretty good move. And as long as that's momentum, I would say it's losing its upward momentum if on the daily it settles below the 20-day moving average.
Okay. All right. Good stuff. Let's take a look at today's price action. We did have, the fight on social media between the president and Elon Musk. I think a lot of traders were looking for maybe some continuation lower on that. But if we look at the opening candle, it set the low for the day. Did not trade a tick lower than that, and just trended up the rest of the day. I know some traders tried to get short here, maybe for some continuation. I did look for a short after we filled the gap down, which didn't play out. But it really was just a trend up day. I think, and then, we kind of trend up into that non-farm number, which we have here. But that was urgency in the beginning of the day, Coach Paul. If you were looking for it, I don't know how many traders trade at that time, but this was, hey, yeah, the market doesn't care about what just happened. Uh, Knee-jerk reaction, but let's get back to business. And this is a buy to the dip if I've ever seen one.
Well, there was, and it filled the gap. When we talk about gap theory, and this is relatively short time, it filled the gap and ran. Um, so being a technician, as we said, that there was buying that never never turned back. By the way, that was right around the 20-day moving average
Yep.
where we closed. So my guess is funds came in, said, we need to buy. Let's start buying now. There was decent volume last night. It wasn't like light volume.
No, it wasn't.
Um, so
Probably all those shorts covering.
probably, um, yeah. Look at that VWAP. Okay, so if we remove the bars or the candles, you tell me what the bias was. I'd love putting that on there. Um, it was uninterrupted. So good movement, but that was pretty busy night last night.
Yes, it was. Then we had non-farm, right? Non-farm. We rallied almost 200 points before almost 300 points before the non-farm print came out. That's this here. Um, The market responded favorably to that as well, and then got kind of choppy. I saw a lot of traders in the chat during fast markets throughout the day saying that they were getting chopped up, saying, this is, garbage price action. What's going on here? Why is the market not moving? Uh, just look at it. We came a long way, right, in the overnight session, and we probably spent, if the daily ATR in the Nasdaq is 418 points. Today we had a under that, right, 384 point range day. But most of that range was spent overnight, and we didn't reconcile that range, right? We didn't trade back through it. So a lot of times, what will happen is we'll have a consolidated or range bound New York session. It's a big enough range to trade. It's still 100 and 30 points, 150 points, but you have to trade this like a range bound market. And if you're looking for breakouts in either direction, right, to the upside or the downside, getting chopped up. You can see. Go ahead, Coach Hall.
I was going to is that the candle from the news candle?
Yes. So
3 minute from yeah,
Ye
that's the one.
this is the news candle range here, but then if you look at just the New York session after that, chop, right? Flat. I hate to call it chop. This wasn't chop. This was just flat.
Well, went right to what? The 50% of that.
Yep.
So, most of that move, like I said, was done in like less than a minute.
Yeah,
And
it
I
really
would
was.
say if you see that in the equities, just don't trade it.
Yeah. We can move on from there. I don't think we have anything else on the equities. Anything else you got, Coach Paul?
That's it for me.
Cool. Linus Rain asked a question on a gap and go. What's the technical target estimated move on that? On a gap and go? Uh,
Well, that would just say the average true range.
there you go.
I mean, that's what I would look at any day.
Right.
I mean, at the S&Ps they had that man 95-point range, so almost 100. So that gap was when it was lower last night. Um, but
Yes, it
I
was.
would
Yep.
usually look at the
A daily
if
ATR
you,
move.
yeah.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Avery Dalton, why is the one of that fib at 680? I'm just looking at the high and low of the news candle, right? So this was non-farm payroll, uh, where 21,680 was the low of that candle, and then 21,768 was the high. And Linus Rain, you said you looked for a daily ATR. We still didn't hit it. Right?
I have it. My daily ATR on the S&P was at 84. So it had a projection of the average true range from the settlement. From the settlement. Um, I had resistance at 60.2375 on the ATR.
I,
I
I,
think the high
I
was 25.
I think what she might be saying there is she was looking for that for to the trade, right? So let's say I got in
Oh,
long and I'm looking for a daily ATR. Uh, we can measure what the market's going to do, whatever it wants to do, right? So if you get close and if I'm looking, let's say I did get long here and I'm looking for a daily ATR move and it's 415 points, right? I'm taking something off the table. Right? I'm not saying that this has to hit a daily ATR move because we see days that it doesn't. It's a good spot to start to measure, but they're going to do whatever they want to at the end of the day. Uh,
good question, Linus. I measure it from the settlement. Yeah, I add the average true range to the settlement and subtract it for the average true range daily average true range from the settlement because that's
let's
looking for a range.
let's move over to gold. What are we looking at here on the daily?
Boy, we're back down to the 50, and then we had a pretty consistent selling all day. Next week's a big week for gold. Um, we're sitting. Can we get across? Um, I thought my feeling was it would rally. I tried too early last night, but Look where we're sitting. The 20 and the 50 are sitting right on top of each other, and we closed right at the 20. Um, let's- we'll see how tomorrow, if we settle underneath both of those and we get across, I think that we're going to have a quick move to the 200.
200 moving average down at 29.45. Gold closing 33.33 right now, trading around 33.33. Let's take a look at the half an hour. Dakota had a pretty nice short in gold today. Uh, Kind of opened up on that 200 moving average, rallied a little bit from there. But if we look at that 30-minute opening range with VWAP attached to it, that volume never really left the range to the upside. Right, this is a market that had a pretty nice sell-off yesterday, traded right back to 50% of that sell-off and rejected from there. Uh, so nice shorts once we got back under that 200 moving average if you were looking for it. Uh, and then, that kind of just accelerated after the non-farm print.
Yeah. So early on, the gold had a decent rally. I actually made money on the I'm buying it off the 5 minute last night, but interesting bouncing off the 200. Um, but when it failed, when it closed below it, if we put a VWAP, and so the candle it closed below, and VWAP never was so. The 200, you should have some kind of institutional buying above. And then institutional buying would be defined by the volume, because light volume is retail trading, secondary trading. Now, in the past, until last month, we would see Asia come in and buy the opening with volume. And we really didn't see that last night. So when we attach the 200, it should be above it if it's healthy. Um, if they're the if that pattern remains, and it didn't, and that was a pretty steady move
Yes, it
into a
was.
Friday with
Decent
all
volume.
this
Go ahead.
with news that Trump is going to China this or London this weekend to talk to the Chinese.
Right.
So very interesting.
Absolutely. We see that non-farm print. It's going to affect gold as well. Remember, we don't have to trade in these news prints. We don't have to try to guess where the markets are going to go. We can trade the aftermath. We can see from that point volume flatline, fade the extremes, and then you get this extension. Where you might have been short from a decent higher time frame level, and then volume agrees, the market agrees with you, and continues to sell from there. Anything else you have in gold, Coach Paul?
Let's look at the weekly. Eh, Let's do a trend line. Yeah, it's. I'll tell you, it's. Um, then let's do a line by that latest low. Yeah, there's going to be a big move in gold one way or the other here soon.
Yeah.
Um, wow, it's just there's a Dorito for you on a weekly. Look at we're staying. How long we've been in this range? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a month and a half. Um, Look at this week. What do you think of this week's candle?
That looks very indecisive to the upside. Similar to what we had up here, similar to, we're just getting higher, lower highs in gold here, where we're not convincing buyers above that 3,400 level, and we haven't since we made new all time highs at the 3,500. That was pre rollover. But yeah, not a lot of convinced buying above that 3,400 right now in gold.
Yeah, they're not there. Those buyers are not there, and would still have that highest volume on made at the all-time high. So, feeling some pressure. Let's keep an eye out next week on that trend line.
It looks pretty bearish there, at least for a pullback, maybe to uh 20 moving average somewhere down here.
Yeah.
Uh, all right. Any other markets? Oh, actually, crude oil. We got to go to crude oil. We've been
Mhm.
ignoring it for so long, but it is the market that is finally breaking out of this range. We sat between the 20 and the 50 moving average for almost 3 weeks, and we got that breakout. We finally closed above the 50, and this white line up here, 66 half, looking like a target, Coach Paul. What are you seeing here?
I'm seeing it the same way. We've been watching this. Interesting. Let's look at the half hour and looking at from last night. Um, or London. Forget about the Asian. What happened in in jolly old England? There you go. We have a J trade.
And I think the reason we went to London here instead of looking at the Asia session, um, look at the volume, right? There was really nothing going on during that Asia session, but
Yeah.
you said it a couple of times, Coach Paul. Uh, London trades oil, and that's where we see that volume start to pick up. And a good place to look at for, hey, if I'm going to start this, I'll start it when everyone else starts trading it as well.
Yeah, I look at that all the time now. Um, because and it's traditional. London is the center of trade in the world to this day. Especially commodities. Um, so they've been in the oil business a long time, but I consider that the opening. It's and it trades volume. Brent crude is what used to be one of the top five traded in the world futures. I haven't looked lately, but I think the London opening is the most important, um, rather than more important than the Asian Open. Like you said, there's no volume unless there's some major movement, and then that's a rare thing.
Right.
Um, but let's see. Look at that. That is a J trade,
As soon as we closed above that high,
and let's look at the 200 moving average too.
right there, man.
And we
It,
held it. We broke above it. We picked up volume, and we've been talking about. But we've had this resistance. We talked about it yesterday. I think it was 63.90, the 64 level.
yeah, right at 64. Yep.
We
We
look
kept rejecting at 64 4 days in a row.
No, I said I think we can move higher. I mean, start trending higher if we closed. I guess were they listening to us? Because
Might
it
have been.
didn't even at half an hour finished like 70 cents above that and held for the rest of the day.
Yeah,
And look
once
at
they
that!
went, it was that was it.
Look at the volume.
Yeah. Wow. Right off the open. I wonder. I didn't catch the opening call this morning, but I wonder what that opening range trade looked like to the upside. Clean up this chart really quick. Here's the one. Nope. It's right here. Okay, so 1 minute opening range triggered a short prior to it. Uh, right back into VWAP. So triggered a short based on that mechanical trade. Didn't cost you a whole lot, but that's why you get out, right? We don't want to cherry pick all the good examples of trades. Because in this area, I don't know that I hate an opening range trade to the short side since we've been rejecting at 64 so many times in the
Yeah,
past, right? Is this going to be that the day that it breaks? If it is, great. Then this trade is going to cost, in this case, 12 ticks, and that's a great loss on a day where it does break out. Uh, I'm
12
sure it,
ticks, $120. It's if you're going to
right,
play, that's the minimum you're going to. It's at a minimum what you
at a
can
minimum,
risk,
right?
and it's a great out. like it's a winning or losing. Sometimes we think is it has to be a positive dollar amount. Well, not really. If you took a sell there and you got out with a $120 loss and you wanted to sell it, that's a, you did a good job. Versus, okay, well, it didn't work here. I'm going to try and sell it at 50 cents higher and they get clobbered again. Get in, get early, find out, and take a smaller loss. Um, but we could see, I mean, from that London Open that I didn't want to fade it.
Agreed. Yeah. Once it got going, there was really no reason to sell this. Uh, Happy Friday, everybody. Happy Friday. I'm just gonna say that. Just I hope everyone is enjoying their Friday. And let's see, we got a half an hour left or 5 minutes left, depending on how this goes. Let's see, we got some questions in the chat. Uh, is there a meetup? Yes, there is going to be a trader meetup. Why don't I post the link to that in the chat? I'm not able to pin it, but there's the link. I'll post it a couple times. Uh, the 18th, June 18th, which is a Wednesday in Chicago, the Windy City, home of the Bulls. We will be doing a trader meetup. You can RSVP for the trader meetup there. You can come meet some of your favorite Top Step coaches, Top Step TV personalities, the rest of the Top Step team. Some of the Top Step team will be there. So traders are asking about a meetup. Fill out the RSVP for that link if you are in the Chicago area or willing to travel to it. Make a trip out of it. Could be a pretty good, cool opportunity. I'm excited to meet some of the traders in person and meet some of the Top Step team in person as well. So sign up there for Top Step Trader Meetup in Chicago.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
You've done one
Um,
before, Coach Paul.
yeah, yeah, it took me a couple days to recover. Uh, no, because Coach Jay and I have never met straight up. We're literally been 2 years
Yep, never met in
on
person.
and never met in person, so I'm really
Power of the
looking
internet.
forward to that. Um, so yeah, if you can make it to Chicago, come on down. It's a good time of the year to come to Chicago. It'll be warm.
Chicago summers are great summers. All right, Paul H had a question, and I think after this, unless there's any other markets you can talk about, Coach Paul, we'll probably give everybody back their time. Weather's pretty nice, even though it is raining right now. Um, Coach Paul, Aaron was looking at gold this morning. He mentioned the 200 moving average on the daily is of little interest to day traders. I use it to decide direction above long. Any comments?
To each his own. Um, I give it. It gives me a bias. If I'm trading in the day, then I don't really look at the on from a day trader's point of view, the 200 on the daily. But we, as we do on the show, I want to know where it is on the half hour. So as we go through, understand on a day trade, we know that it's the longer term trend. If we look at the hierarchy, look at the daily, and I look at the 30-minute, and I want to know where the 200 is on the 30-minute. Um, and if it's like today, if it's crossing and it can't hold it, I personally, because I trade different markets, I don't want to own gold. If you're a day trader and you see that, and like we just did the analysis, I find it very useful. Now, you might not, but Aaron trades differently. Um, but that's my process. It works for me. It might not work for everyone. But as we do analysis, when we've been doing this for 2 years, we've seen the 200 moving average on the half hour and the daily come in and make significant support or resistance. So now Aaron, he might be, I don't know how he trades. He might be reading the order flow. Um, and he trades on a very short term basis. But It means something to, and we've seen this on many different markets. When we're right there, when we're sitting on it, and we get like a VWAP rising above it. I don't want to. I don't want to sell it. I don't want to be short.
Stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, I think that's the perfect find what works for you answer, right? Because it's going to be different for every single person, right? And I think especially when we're listening to multiple people, and I love the way Aaron trades, right? But if I try to take what Aaron says and then what Coach Paul says and what Coach Jay says and Dakota and try to make it all one and you know don't ever filter and come up with what makes sense for me to make decisions, then I'm going to get conflicting information at some point, right? So take all the information and then find whatever helps you come to your trading decisions at the end of the day. Um, all right,
At
Coach
the end
Paul.
of the
Any other markets we want to talk about?
bonds. We can't
Say that one more time. My AirPods died.
uh, the bond market.
Bond market. Okay, we'll end it with this because the here we go. We talked about this yesterday.
Yeah. Um, that 50 moving average on the daily under the 200. And the number came out and it never recovered. Um, Notice says we had that small range, we broke yesterday's low. Then we closed below the 200 on the number
Consistent
and
selling.
consistent selling. This looks like rates are going higher. They are going. They went higher.
Yeah, they did.
Interesting. If we make a line chart on that, and we had a head and shoulders, and we're right at the bottom of the neckline. This Look at the volume of the selling. Um, no J trade there.
Nope.
Uh, that's a
Continuation.
continuation. Um, the, the daily looks bearish. The half hour looks bearish. It's under the 200. The way I look at it, I'm not looking to own it. I'm looking for a place to sell it. But overall, that daily, we talked about, we had some buying yesterday, immediately rejected. Um, and right back to where we started to, but um, interest rates look like we've waited for what? This number. We got the number, we got a reaction to it with volume and price, and they finished towards the lows of the week. This support we've seen for most of the week, Monday should be a very interesting day.
Yes, it should be. And we'll see if we get a deal. See if we get a deal on
A
Monday.
deal.
All right. Any other markets? I got nothing else here. Oh, cattle. Let's move our friend up here. That's it. All the analysis I got there. Continuing to make new highs. It is just
Yep.
continuing to rally. Coach Hoop calls it out all the time. And again, if you are a trader that is getting potentially chopped up in a market that you're trading, uh, cattle is a trending market right now. Right now, you are going to have to get accustomed to the tick value and how it moves and what news affects it. But this is a trending market, right? This is just the DNA of a trending market that's continuing to make all-time highs. We get slight pullbacks, but any of these pullbacks, these are all buy the dip opportunities in this market. So if you're struggling in the equities that may not be trending, chopping around, might not be a bad place to look. Might not be a bad tribe. You want to be there when I make my first cattle trade? You missed it. It was last year, but
Look at the cattle. Let's look at the 3 minute. Did you frame out the opening
it is right here.
in a VWAP? Of course, and this is why another thing I look at the 200. I'm only looking to buy this.
Mm,
Now, I'm glad. To me, there was a hook here. You got caught. Buyers are still in this market. I'm not saying you can't sell, but for me, um,
Such a great point you just made there.
yeah,
It's such
it's
and you're a day
why is
trader.
that?
You because you would day trade this market, but you said I wouldn't be looking to short this because on the daily it's above the 200 moving average, right? On the 30
On the
minute,
half hour.
it's
Yeah.
above it as well. And initially, on a shorter time frame, Coach Paul, maybe that was a short.
Yeah. But another thing when you're short too, and you're going against it's like swimming upstream. You just beware. You can use a lot of energy. To me, I like floating with the stream. It's much easier. But like I said, that's the way I look at it. Um, but this kid, who's going to be able to afford a hamburger soon?
Yeah, seriously. I made some ribeye last night and it's like, wow, now I gotta go buy new ones at all-time highs. I gotta replace them. Damn it. Should have left one in the
Uh,
freezer. But yeah, this market is just continuing to rally. You look at the weekly Brady, I mean, and these are all-time highs. These is the market that is making all-time highs. Where would your long entry have been? That's a good question.
we get a J trade there.
We did get one on the lows. So now, okay, so here's a that's a really good question, right? Where would your long entry have been? This is a market that you are saying that I only want to, if I'm going to trade it, I only want to buy it. I think, and Coach Paul is the trade one side of the market guy. I will trade both sides of a market, but I think what happens is when we trade well, we want a signal to then go long, right? It's not just a I want to trade this market to the long side, so I'm going to buy it. Right. So now, then at that point, you wait for a signature of something that you have in your playbook that says this is a buy or this is a sell. You know, we clearly see one here where we got that high volume at the lows, ended up being the low of the day. We closed above it. You could buy it there, and we can see the market came down and tested that area a couple times before it left. Uh, but where would your entry be on this, Coach Wall?
Um, two things. I probably wouldn't end up buying it. I
Mm,
want to see the urgency. But you did have a J trade,
right,
the lows, but even that, I probably wouldn't have bought that because it wasn't double the average volume. I
right.
just wouldn't have got caught short.
There you go.
I
No
just
trade.
don't. Just no trade. Now, for a position trade or a swing trade, you'd be long for weeks. That's a different story.
Right.
That's a runner. But this is one we don't talk fundamentals. It's a very fundamentally bullish. I mean, you're going to be paying for a good steak $100 now.
Crazy. Make
Chicken
friends
looks
with your
good.
butchers.
Make friends with you.
Make friends
And,
with your butcher.
and with that too is that even if you sold it on a breakout, you sold it. You have to keep an eye on no matter what you do, the priority is risk management. How much can I afford to lose? How much am I willing? Do I accept it? Take the trade. Now, if I'm short though, and I see that second um, J trade there, I'm out of there.
Yeah.
Over that high. Win, lose. I mean, think about that. We got more volume of selling. Couldn't make a low. Um,
Yeah. That's sellers are not getting what they want, and they haven't in a market that's making all-time highs. So,
so
we got a question from Jim. What is a J trade? So what we're looking at is a high volume move that is usually an unsustainable amount of volume and then a reversal from there, right? So the reason Coach Paul said he wouldn't have taken this one is because yes, this volume happened at the low, but what we're normally looking for is above average volume. If you look at this volume indicator I have on my chart, that was at average, right? So what we're looking for is something usually 2x the volume or more. So a good example is this one, right? Where we had, and this isn't a plus example either because it wasn't at the lows or high of the day, but it was the low of the move. But we had high volume, twice the average, and once we close above that, the idea is I'm now buying this with a risk below the low. 'Cause this is where these sellers failed, right? And the same thing if it's a buy side trade. Whenever we close below the extreme, close below or above the extreme of that candle, then you're fading the move. The reason we go with a close is because sometimes that high volume can lead to continuation. All right. And there was another question, Coach Paul, from Billy. Is there a point where it gets too far from the 200 moving average where you wouldn't buy?
Yeah. When we would measure that on a day trade, um, yeah, if it's more than 4 ATRs, we've seen it be 10 ATRs on a 3 minute. No, I'm just that I'm looking. I can go to another market. I'm not look. There's it's too far away to really initiate.
There you go.
Now, with that said, too, also that's where VWAP, anchored VWAP, comes in. That's the beauty of the anchored VWAP. You can bring that, say, well, I want to buy this. I go to a shorter time frame. I frame out any one I use, and VWAP is VWAP agreeing with me. It is still moving in that direction with the trend.
Say the more extended we get, right, from that 200, we're probably talking about more consolidated moves. So even if I do take on, and we can see it here, right, we're getting extended, um, and the moves are happening a little bit slower, right? The closer we get to this 200 moving average and bounce off of it, then we see some acceleration. The higher we get, uh, there's just going to be less convinced buying up here. Um, if I'm going to buy this and hold this, I want to buy it at better prices, right? So uh, the air might
Uh,
be a little thin up here for a huge move if you're looking for one.
yeah, and that's where patience comes in. But I look for it in the different markets. So if
Yep,
it's in here, I'm like, no, oh, that's kind of away from where I want to be. Maybe there's 35 different markets. I can winnow it down to 12.
find gold and trade that trade that one.
And by the way, why is that? That was I like this selling in that on a short-term basis, as we did. We showed VWAP. I was just talking about VWAP. Once we got under it, we need volume. I will go through this again. You need volume for movement.
Yep,
Uh, If their volume is equal and it's large and it's equal, there's no imbalance. Market's going to go sideways. So with VWAP there, all right, well, that getting close, I want to keep that price and volume close. I just attach it to the first candle it got under.
oh,
Hope
back
that,
to gold like we did here.
yeah.
All right. Do you have a trading plan you can share? I'd have to put it together to make it make sense and make it shareable to everyone. But yeah, I guess we could do that. Make it a PDF. That might be a cool idea. Just have it, each coach do like a playbook, coach's playbook. Topstep definitely had coaches playbooks like a couple years ago, but maybe we could put something together. Coach, you have a trading playbook you could share?
Um, yeah, we do it every day.
Yeah,
That,
yeah,
we
yeah.
do that every day. Frame out the opening 3 minutes. See if the movement out and see if VWAP agrees with it. That's a really simple trading plan.
It really is.
Just that's
Everything
really
else from that point is risk management, right? Like however you click the button is how you click the button, and you manage your
right.
risk.
And use a 1 minute, 3 minute, 5 minute opening range breakout. Why opening range? Because that's the usually highest volume for the day.
Right.
Start looking at that one and see if VWAP agrees with it. Then frame out your risk. I mean, real simple. We'll share that. I mean, that's as simple as it gets. And I love it. I don't. Um, but it also, like we said, it could be in gold, it could be in crude, it could be ES, but it's a short amount of time. So if you're managing risk correctly, you're not exposing yourself for too long. If
Yep.
it's right, you can keep your exposure. So yeah, we share it every day.
Every day. Tribe says he's gonna go back and watch all of the past at the buzzers. You're probably gonna get bored after a while, to be honest with you, because it literally is the same thing every day, which is fine, right? We do that intentionally where we say, "Hey, this is what we're looking at. Where can we apply it?" Is the idea. Some days are more exciting than others when we got big news or whatever it is. But what you'll find is, I think since we started this on YouTube, we have not talked about much as far as different strategies. It's been the same moving averages, VWAP, volume. Where did it apply for that day? Uh, Maybe you should think of a new segment for ATB. Give us some suggestions. We do
Yeah,
have actually here. You know what? Want a new segment? How about we get some traders to come on and talk about their strategy? So what I'm gonna do uh, is
we'll
this
do
it?
one day.
Here, hold on one second. You want a new segment? You're gonna be the new segment. How about that? Let me find this link. One second here. Is this the right one? All right, here we go. Fill out this form. Let me make sure that's the right one. Oh, right link. Don't click that link. The wrong one. Let me give you the right link. Uh,
Maybe we'll do that segment Fridays.
yeah, why not? Why not? Let me get this link here. Here we go. You want to come on at the buzzer and have Coach Paul and I review your trades for the day or for the week. Um, Fill out that casting call. Here's our new segment. We're gonna build this right here together, guys. Have at least a week of trading data in a combine or an XFA, and we'll bring you on the show. And we'll talk about how you traded. You can review your trades. I want you to be able to talk about your strategy in at least a 5-minute clip, and we'll talk it out from there. Um,
Yeah,
you need
like
permission for
that.
the form? Okay, give me one second. I'll fix that. But that'll be it, right? We'll make it public. Hold on one second. That should be a public link. It's not. Okay, you need access. Give me one second. I'll make it public. One second here. Who can respond? The link. All right. Check it out now. Let me know if you can respond now. You need to vet for winning strategies. So GDL, that's the exact opposite. We don't want to vet for winning strategies. We want to vet for traders that have data and are looking for some suggestions on the data that they have. Right. So we need nobody wants to learn how to lose. So we're not judging, whether they're profitable or not, right? We want to judge what is the strategy that you say you're trading. How can we adjust it? Go ahead, Coach Paul. What are you laughing at?
Well, I just went. It just nobody wants to learn how to lose.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you do. Read read The Best Loser Wins. We haven't mentioned that in a while. One of the best books on trading. And why do I say that? When you learn how to lose well, winners take care of themselves. It's so I just had
Yeah.
to throw that in there.
I think what we could learn from this as well is how to edit trading plans. I've done this a couple of times with some traders. And yeah, this is a practice account. This was reversal challenge stuff. Uh, I've done this a couple of times with traders in the VIP program, and they you're just like when someone has to talk out their strategy, you'll realize whether or not there are holes in it, right? Just getting another perspective from somebody else. What I'd never want to try to do is change someone's strategy. Right? Whatever you come to us with is what you're going to leave with, maybe with some suggestions on how to better implement it or trade it for yourself based on what we see. And it's only a suggestion, right? It's never a hey, you have to do this way. Who the hell am I to say that? Manage your risk and do whatever you want. But if you want to come on the show and talk about your trading with us or any questions that you have, check out that link and
Share your
let us know.
strategy.
Are you guys still getting an error with that link? If so, I'll share it again on Monday. I'll probably have to fix the link. Can I pin? I can't pin stuff, but you guys should be able to access that link now. Right? I'll share it a couple more times here. All right. Thanks, everyone. We're
Oh,
gonna go ahead and end it there. Coach Paul, you got anything before we go into the weekend?
have a great weekend, everyone. And we'll go at it again starting Sunday night.
Awesome stuff. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Enjoy your weekends. Hit the thumbs up button if you haven't done so already. And we will talk to you all on Monday. Have a good one.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Where's our outro? Where's the outro? There it is.